Thank you, everyone. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Today's first session is on OT security, and I particularly selected it because it's kind of a more niche domain, and people will be interested to know about more, as it is one of the very critical technologies which are harnessed across different key sectors such as oil and gas, power plants, energy, and all. So, just a quick introduction about myself. So, my name is Samrat. I have 6 years of experience in cybersecurity. I work for KPMG Dubai, and I've been with KPMG for the last 2.5 years. I work primarily across the cyber defense domain. So, some of my key areas where I work across are SecDevOps, threat modeling, smart contract technology, container security, the generic application security testing, OT security, and so on. In terms of my research, I have quite a few CVEIDs. One of them recently came out in Oracle for a zero-day exploit in April 2020. So that's it. I keep, apart from my daily job, I keep learning and researching on different things, so which helps me keep updated in this emerging domain. So moving on, these are some of the key topics which we'll cover today. So, just to give a quick intro, we have different terminologies which sometimes people mix and match, or sometimes people know how to demarcate it. So, majorly, I see people using the terms interchangeably like SCADA, OT, ICS, and for many of the people, they think that most of these terms are actually same. However, there is a kind of a thin line difference. OT is more of the overall part, which means the entire operational technology which is used across industrial operations, for example, oil and gas, electric utility, manufacturing operations, and all. Now, under OT, the subpart which comes is ICS, SCADA, and DCS. ICS refers to the industrial control systems, DCS refers to the distributed control systems, and SCADA refers to the supervisory control acquisition and data system. Excuse me, systems which are more of the architectural part. So our focus today will be on SCADA, which will help us to amass the knowledge of what exactly it is, and then correlate those terms and technologies on the overall OT side. So very quick intro on the lessons we will go today is an introduction to SCADA for people who are entirely new to SCADA so that they can have a fair handholding of it. Then where we use them, what are the benefits or the reason of why actually SCADA technology exists. Then we have system concepts of SCADA. What are the kind of communication protocols used in SCADA? The reason for this is SCADA or OT protocols work a bit different from IT. So it's very imperative for us to know when we do an OT kind of a security testing that what kind of protocols or underlying architecture are being leveraged over there. Then we will look at the kind of cybersecurity risks across SCADA, the types of networks it has, and what are the possible kind of attack vectors which can happen in a SCADA network. Then we will do a quick walkthrough around penetration testing on SCADA, which obviously is not as full-fledged as we get to do in IT, but it's more of a kind of a locked down testing, obviously due to the sensitivity of the systems. And then we will wrap up and we can have any Q&A. So going ahead, SCADA. What exactly is SCADA? SCADA is called as a supervisory control and data acquisition. Now, any systems which are used to monitor different kinds of equipments across any sensitive environment, that is called as SCADA. Mostly major of the environments where any consultancy firm wants to perform security testing uh, uh, in an OT environment or kind of an ISIS environment, we always witness SCADA being present over there. Now, the question is, where can we get SCADA? So as I have told, SCADA can be found across any kind of energy or power kind of industry. So we can see it across energy distribution, we can see it in water and sewage, we can see it in buildings, we can see in manufacturing sector, we can see in traffic signals. So one very famous example we can say of OT technology can be DEWA, which is the electricity distribution grid of Dubai. So they have a very good kind of IT or of a OT infrastructure, which can be a good example. So apart from that, there are many key many sectors, for example, nuclear power plants or other kind of energy producing plants which harness this technology. Now, the question comes, if we want to understand SCADA, what is the actual underlying anatomy or the breakup of the system under which SCADA is based on? So, the first thing which we have is a SCADA workstation, which is a very first kind of more of, we can say, a GUI panel from where we can see how exactly it is governed. So, we have something called a human operator, which is a device by which we can actually push our commands and also as well as keep monitoring, for example, the industrial operations, the kind of manufacturing processes. It's more of a graphical interface of what we are doing or what is going in the backend. Then we come to the HMI. So it's a combination of a software come hardware thing which allows the person or the human operator to monitor all the states and processes, and it can be built on top of anything which can be a Windows, Linux, or a Unix system. Most of the OT plants, if you see, you will find Linux or Windows system. And one downside to it is you will find majorly outdated or obsolete OS being still deployed on top of the system. The major reason why the firm is actually reluctant to shift to a newer OS is because of legacy controls, legacy processes, then in terms of compatibility issues. So that's one weak point which I feel OT plants might have is due to running outdated OS. They leave their systems to a host of 0 days or kind of exploits and vulnerabilities, which is not a good thing to have. Now, on a very quick kind of a walkthrough. So we have four different things which every person should know who is interested to learn about SCADA or move into SCADA. So the first thing is called a data historian. So for persons new to it, you can simply relate it to a kind of a database. So what it does is all the information which is being processed or any kind of information which is being analyzed, that a data historian leverages in order to uh, serve as a database. The second thing is the master terminal unit. So SCADA master terminal unit is a kind of a device which issues all commands to RTUs. RTUs means those kind of terminals which are remotely connected to which I can issue a command. Think of it as a kind of an RDP system. And all the information which is being processed, this MTU actually collates, stores, and processes them and displays them back to the person operating it. Then coming to the part of an RTU, like I told, it's more of a think of it as an RDP. So what it does is it connects to all the sensors or which more kind of the equipments which receive the instructions, and then it digitally sends the data across to the systems. And then something finally very important in OT is a PLC. So when you go to any kind of an OT security assessment on field, you will see that there are PLCs deployed. So these are nothing but logic controllers, which are kind of very sensitive in nature, and they actually help perform all the processes. Now these are very kind of a sensitive devices. Even if you run an arbitrary Nmap scan or any kind of a scan without putting a threshold or kind of putting a control, you might end up crashing those PLCs. These are ultra sensitive systems. Now, since we have a fair understanding of what SCADA is, what are its anatomical components? Now, let us understand the communication part. Now, in terms of the communication part, what all we do have? So we have a control operator, like I told, which issues the commands. Then we have an HMI, which is more of a traditional system which is running on Windows or Linux. So majorly in my OT assessments, I've seen that people still use Windows XP or Windows 7, which are both outdated. Or you might have older Unix kind of operating systems. Sometimes there might be some thick client or web application hosted on top of it. Now these HMIs speak back to the SCADA controlling server. Then the SCADA controlling server itself, which fetches data from the HMI, it collects data from the data historian, which I told you can think of it as a kind of a database. And then it pushes or pulls data. Then finally, we have the server and the RT or PLC, which determines the kind of logic which we can use to make it understand what all processor or operations to do. Now, if we directly correlate it with the on-ground system, then we will have actuators, capacitor banks, feeder switches. So when you go to a SCADA architecture, you will see that there are kind of levels like level 0, level 1, level 2 and a half, or sometimes called level 3 and level 3 and a half. Now, each of those levels actually have different kind of devices. So at the first level, it can be sensors. Then on the top level, it can be the workstations or the front end systems which record all the data. So a communication is interlinked between each of them, and that's how a system functions. Now, this is a very helpful diagram in order to visualize the kind of SCADA system, how it can be set up. So at the top, we can see on the left, it is an HMI, which is kind of a interface, which is something for the end user to operate. The workstations across are connected to it. Then we have the data historian, which collects and processes the data. Then all of those connect to the server, and then it goes to the router. Now, inside the OT plant or across different OT plants, it might be connected. And end of the day, all those information which is fed goes into the end actuators or centers. For example, governing of temperature level, governing the pressure level, seeing the oil level or the radioactive level in kind of lab. So that's a very kind of a generic architecture which you will see across most of these SCADA or OT plants. Now comes the part of protocol. So like as I've told, IT and OT are a bit different. So obviously somebody with a pure IT background will have some challenges in assessing an OT plant because we don't use the generic protocols of IT into OT. So there are multiple protocols across OT. However, there are very two famous, which we will cover. One is DNLP3 and the second is Modbus. Now DNP3 is a more of a distributed network protocol. So what it how actually it is used is across the multiple RTUs, like which I've told, which you can consider as a remote desktop, and between the master control server or the master station. Now all the communication which flows out from the master to the RTUs, that is in this case a DNP3 protocol is being used, and it operates generally over port 20,000 over TCP or UTP. And secondly is the Modbus, which is used for the SCADA systems, and it works over the standard 502 TCP protocol. So when you go for very kind of detailed OT security assessment, you will see that Modbus and DNP are the most common recurring protocols which will come across. Now, how are these leveraged? So the RTU actually collects all the data from the sensors, and then it converts all this kind of data which is received over a Modbus protocol or a DNP protocol. And once it is converted, that actually travels over the wire to the endpoints or the server, and that's how the entire communication works. Now, since we have understood the high level architecture and the background knowledge of it, now comes the part of security. So why exactly a good question comes is majority of the times OT networks are locked down or they might not be having internet access. So amid all of these questions, the primary thing comes is why is security actually important in control systems, or I can say industrial control systems. So there are multiple reasons. So on a very quick glance, first reason is if we do not have a very kind of a locked down OT system. So for example, in one of the OT projects which I worked on, I could ascertain that there was not even a proper firewall in the manufacturing sector in which they were working. So not a kind of a proper network control implemented on the system might be an easy way for a cyber intruder to attack. And due to the evolving nature of the technology landscape, more and more attacks might open up, which will cause more risk. Then, on top of that, since most of the ICS systems in the underlying actually use the OT system actually use underlying IT systems, so the traditional information technology risk and vulnerabilities might creep in. So that is something we should take a note of. And finally, most of the control systems, like I have told, they might harness web technology, for example, some limited web applications in order to monitor or control that data. Now, that is one part where all the traditional web application attacks might also into come place. And finally, some of the non-secure protocols, which are not actually end-to-end encrypted or which are not securely transmitted, these kind of protocols, if used, might lead to network level attacks. And finally, like as I've told, most of the plants actually use older versions of Windows or Linux systems. Now, these might be having very kind of a public vulnerabilities, which might be triggered by an attacker. So, considering all of this, security forms a very key component which we should imbibe in control systems. Now, if we look into the very specialized part of OT networks, so what kind of vulnerabilities might arise? Now, if we take the consider the case of Modbus, it might have a request packet, but without any underlying authentication, any encryption, or the other conventional security protocols. Now, what it might lead to on the left, so the results are on the right that we might have communication hijacking, we might have man in the middle attacks, we might have some kind of database attacks. So any attack which will be feasible and based on the skill set of the attacker that might enter the landscape of an OT network. So this is just a kind of a recap on some of the real attacks which occurred across the OT security part. So one was a very famous attack some years back, almost a decade back, which was on Stuxnet attack. So this affected a power grid security, and it was a very kind of targeted attack on a critical infrastructure. Then something like Red October happened, which was again a kind of stealing of sensitive documents by a malware. So this was a very kind of a sophisticated APT attack or a AVT attack, which actually ended up compromising the network or the infrastructure. So it's not always that we feel safe that our OT network is kind of secure, but many a times different kinds of attacks might occur. So if you have a look again on the kind of recent attacks, you will see in the last 3 or 4 years also there have been certain kind of attacks like fileless malware attacks or kind of proprietary protocol based attacks. So these things keep happening on the fly. Now the concept comes is the type of SCADA network. So now once we have understood the kind of security, the kind of attacks, the kind of SCADA protocols, now we come to the part of SCADA networks. So this is again a very interesting thing for people who are very interested to appear for certifications or kind of go for practical hands-on assessments. So even in SCADA, like the generic computer, we have had generations. So the first generation was the kind of earlier monolithic SCADA systems, and these were the very big and kind of fat mainframe computers, which were very kind of a bulky, and they were usually a kind of a single mainframe consolidated system, and it was very limited capabilities, which was more bent on monitoring of sensor and flagging of operations. So these were very hardware focused. So it was not very easily portable, or it was not something which could be reusable in another kind of a system. Then the newer phase started coming, which was more of this PC based control systems, and these leveraged the concept of LAN, so which allowed kind of processing data between them, and in terms of not only alerting but also processing some of the other smaller operations. So that was something which was a big improvement over the earlier systems. Then we came to the more advanced system, which was a network SCADA system. So these now started being used over the wide area systems, or it can be leveraged over the data lines, which could transfer data. And a lot of PLCs started coming into play, which were used to transfer all the logic or kind of make monitoring. And now this point of time, what happened was the underlying hardware that became very more interchangeable as because different vendors could actually interact, and a kind of a setup could be established between them. And the more major modern system which has come into part is the IoT part. So whenever you read thought leaderships or like kind of a knowledge papers, you will see that IoT is something which is increasingly being integrated with OT or ICS networks. Now this kind of a model came into part where data can be monitored, or it can be very easily controlled over the IoT network. Now IoT network also has certain common architectural part, which like for people who are interested in IT will know that even they have actuators, they have sensors. So all those things can be combined with the traditional OT network, so that bridges the gap between them. And finally, better kind of a communication and overall management can be achieved when we integrate IoT with OT networks. Now let us have a look at some kind of the attack vectors which can happen. So SCADA attacks. Now, how vulnerable or how feasible are SCADA networks which can be compromised? So, like as I've told, they end of the day they also end up using some kind of a OT or TCP based systems. So, any kind of a traditional TCP attacks issue, if we have, even those things can be leveraged to attack any OT system on up to some level. Now, a major misconception I have seen, or like many of you might have seen, is that people think that ICS systems are entirely separate or they are segregated from the internet facing system, so we are safe, but that's not the line. That's not the case. And a majority of the PLCs or RTOs, if you see, they are vendor managed, and these kind of systems which is Modbus or DNP, they are usually turn over kind of lease lines or systems which are not actually always very safe. And many a times you will see that the physical security of a system will not be actually fine, or it that is also a weak point of compromise at any SCADA room or an overall OT plan. So some of the very concise attacks can be understood via this. Now, what might happen if an ICS system gets compromised? So if any kind of a system gets compromised, the traditional attacks which occur can be a denial of service, which we all know, which can be used to crash down the OT system. Then some kind of mission critical files can be can get corrupted or stolen. Then it might happen that certain malwares can take control of your system, and any kind of data which might be confidential to your system, that kind of logs might be stolen. Now, what all are the attack paths or vectors which can happen and how those should be addressed? So in the network perimeter, we should ensure that no kind of backdoors are there. The common vulnerabilities should be mitigated, which should be assessed and then remediated in the end. And any kind of field devices which are there, we should see that there are no kind of attacks at the maximum level. We should try to lock them down. And finally, any kind of man in the middle attack should be thwarted to the maximum extent possible. Now, just to understand what all kind of things might happen. So, without any proper, thorough security assessment, the modern networks might get affected via backdoors. Then, if we have firewalls or kind of wireless access across our network, and those are not actually locked down, they might have some inherent security vulnerabilities which might come into part. And especially the case where we are using remote control over systems or over the communications. So that's a part where majority of the threat actors might surface, and those can actually happen via the operating system vulnerabilities. It can happen via PrivSec vulnerabilities. It can happen via malware. So all these kind of things needs to be ensured when we go as a security consultant to review an OT security. Or on the other side of the table, as the persons who are running the plant or the kind of admins or the operators, they should be aware of these kind of attacks and how to lock them down. Now, some of the attacks which has commonly happened is on certain systems, like as I've told, some of them might have internet connectivity or some might have not. Some might have very restricted, some might have open. So majorly we'll see very, very restricted internet connectivity. But again, that's not something which actually makes a person feel safe. And as I've told, some of the very common things you will see as gaps is like still obliterated OS are being used, for example, Windows XP, and it's something which is not actually reasonable or kind of feasible to have still running. So we should ensure that most of this most of this OS should be removed, and they should actually be tried. At least they should make a try to upgrade to some in support operating system, so these kind of attacks are being removed. And in terms of the field devices, that's something a very major area at the level 0 part of a SCADA. So what we should have is most of the architecture where we have these kind of field devices, we should see that they have a very kind of a secure authentication, kind of authorization for all the systems. A kind of a trust domain boundary should be drawn out where all the accesses should be covered. And that should minimize the unauthorized attacks of a vector into the network. Now, if these things are not being leveraged, so the direct consequence will be entering into the network or the field devices of an attacker. Now, this is something which is very common. So, any web application security attacks sometimes are also common for the OT network side. So, if I use a kind of a database, which is again in IT networks for associating the data, and if those systems are being somehow connected or exposed, the same kind of attacks like SQL injection attacks also come into part. And these actually will have a direct impact on the servers, the historians which store the data, and even up to the level of the HMI console, which retrieves the data. So all of these things will indirectly get impacted if there is something like a SQL injection data, a SQL injection attack which can occur over the network. Then something called man in the middle, which we are all aware of, is something where a person can sniff packets on the network. And in a case where a OT network is there and a person is able to position himself between the core switch and between the devices, so that's a part where a man in the middle attack might occur, and the data can be then harvested for offline analysis. So attacks like ARP poisoning and all might occur, and unless and until the devices or the hardware devices are configured with good security controls, these kind of attacks might not be detected in real time. That can be one of the threats. Now we come to the SCADA pen testing methodology. So this is something which every pen tester would be interested to know about. That okay, now I have security, now I know things. So what are the kind of pen testing methods or architectural level concepts I can carry on? So four broad sectors can be identified or components. First is the network infrastructure. So when we do an OT security testing, we obviously take a look at the routers, the configuration files of them, the kind of physical cabling carried out, and a kind of an offline packet analysis. So why are these things needed is from a configuration point of view to ensure the best practices are being adhered to in configuration files. For example, a switch should not be using Cisco Type 5 or Type 7 protocols because that is very obsolete. So it should be Type 8 or Type 9. Then a kind of a packet sniffing, which is obviously creating a kind of a spanning port and then mirroring the traffic of the OT plans and then analyzing it offline using any kind of a packet analysis tool, for example, Wireshark or any other kind of a open source tool which you might like. So that will give a good idea of the packets which are traveling or if there is any kind of anomaly which is not yet detected. The second part which comes is host operating systems. So just a good input I would like to give for people who actually do packet analysis. We generally use Wireshark, but there is a more open source tool which is called Moloch, MOLOCH. Now this is a very interesting tool for anybody who wants to perform traffic analysis or packet analysis, and this tool is actually more powerful in terms of features, or it gives a more kind of a data flow approach among the different systems which are getting interconnected. So that's a good tool for anybody who would like to perform traffic assessment across IT or OT. Now the second part which comes is the host operating systems. Now here again, when we go to any plant, in order to assess the security, we should have a look at the patching levels, the kind of password, the kind of directory or shared permissions, because that's one part where I have seen that most people neglect. For example, they might be having passwords like admin at 123 or Cisco at 123. So these kind of passwords are something which, like if we find them, obviously that's a deficit or a kind of a gap. Then coming to the application part, we should review all the ports which are being leveraged and the kind of services which are running, as well as any kind of remote access which is being leveraged. And finally, on the PLC and RTOs, we should have a look at the password, then the kind of packet analysis of what is being going over there, as well as the patch level. So any test case on a very limited level in a control mode across these four broad sectors is something which a SCADA security testing will revolve around. Now, once we know that what kind of testing we can do, the second question comes is what kind of protocols we might use or the kind of tools which we might leverage on the protocols. So we have something called mode scan. So this is very helpful for identifying all the Modbus devices. Then we have the ICS scan, which actually again helps us in order to identify the Modbus devices, so whatever are running. Then we can use Nmap, But again, this has to be used in a very super sensitive and controlled mode so that we do not crash any systems. And then we have very limited Metasploit modules which can be used in a very controlled mode with limited control on threats for the detection of Modbus. Then comes the part of protocol detection, which is very important for SCADA. So the different kind of activities which we can do is detect the devices, monitor the state, then inject very limited kind of commands, obviously with the understanding of what we are doing, then replaying the packets as well as sniffing the traffic. So like as I've told, we have certain tools which are majorly open source, for example, Varchar or Moloch, TCP dump. We can use some limited Python scripts, or we can use the hex data, a hex viewer to view the data in hex. Now, regarding Modbus, most of these devices have web interfaces which is very easy to analyze and check. In case of DNP3, we have source and destination addresses which can be used for all the kind of MITM attacks. So that can be something which is an interesting point to see. And one major finding which you will find when you go to an OT plant security assessment will be that, as I've told, majority of them do not implement any encryption, authentication, or authorization. So by default, as we see in IT network, that um, if you use UDP, it just by default assumes that everything is okay and it keeps firing the packets. It does not validate or it does not see any kind of integrity. In the same way, DNP3 devices, they simply assume all the messages are by default valid and they do not perform any kind of security checks before shooting them out. Now, if we have to analyze DNP3 protocols, so with a very proper kind of an access capture on the network topology we can do, or we can perform a kind of a man-in-the-middle attack, obviously with a prior approval and on a very controlled extent, to see that what kind of modification, tampering, or kind of sniffing we can do on DNP3 messages. In terms of data manipulation, again, Modlive is something which is a further extension of SCAPI, which is a kind of a tool which most pentesters on the network level where we first network packets. So a Modleaf extension of SCAPI can be used in order to do this. Then we have OpenDNP3, which is again C++ library module made in Metasploit, which can be used. On the web interfaces, we will have common attack vectors like SQL injection and other kind of command injections, which are similarly used in IT network. And on any HMI or the backend SQL, we can test for the generic attacks which might be present. Now, in the end, since we have understood the architecture, the attacks, the protocols, the tools, the final part comes the recommendation, which means that if I have to assess or review the architecture of an OT plant or perform a security testing at the end, what all at least minimum baseline recommendations I should give. So something first is we should identify all the connections. Then any kind of unused ports, protocol services we should disable. Then we should have a very robust kind of an incident monitoring. So many plant operators or the person at the top negate it because they say that our system is not connected to internet or we don't have any public facing assets. So that's not the case. So a kind of an intrusion detection system should be implemented. Then as I told, all kind of necessary services should be disabled, and routinely physical surveys should be carried out as it's very important for all this SCADA network. The reason is, for example, one of the plant projects which I worked on, I did a physical walkthrough and I saw that they did not have any basic, even CCTV cameras or the PLC cabinets were not even locked, or on some cases it were locked but the key was stuck in the lock itself. So that's not something very feasible or something very kind of a good practice. So these kind of physical security surveys should be carried out, and security on that part should be highlighted, and it should be brought forward. Then kind of a very defined role matrix should be carried out. For example, manager, systems, administration, users, everybody should have a kind of a least privilege enforced to them as per their business needs. And finally, the entire architecture of the OT network, that's something which should be very documented in details in terms of HLDs, NLDs. So that's a very important part. Now, again, on this particular case, you will see that majority of the clients do not, sometimes they say that we do not know our assets or we do not have a clear idea of what kind of assets we have. So we had similar engagements where the same case was there. In that case, you need to sit with the network admin or the network architecture to understand and then help them chart out the diagrams. In case where they themselves are not aware about the assets, you need to run a kind of an asset discovery tool like Nozomi, which will actually help sniffing data on the core switch. And by sniffing that data, it will be able to identify all the systems which are connected to it, and then accordingly it can give you a report of all the systems which are in the OT network. Now, four things which are very important in order to harden. So first is creating DMZs. So DMZs, as we all know, is something which is a kind of a demilitarized zone or a segregated zone which sits between the external network and between the internal network. So multiple DMZs can be created based on the business needs and based on the access privileges which are needed. And finally, a very robust firewall or kind of a next generation firewall, which should be very properly configured. The rule should be configured, and the underlying baseline configuration of the firewall should be employed so that everything like IP addresses, files, and all these kind of things can be regulated. Now, that brings to the end of presentation. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can put in the chat box.